You created an AI SDR system that books $200K a month in sales calls. This is all automated. There's no human in the loop.
So it's basically a demo page where we host a working demo of the two-way AI system, the AI SDR.
This sounds incredibly natural. If I got a text message like this, I definitely would not think that it's not a human. You would hire 1,000 people to sit behind a computer terminal and chat with customers all day long. But you've literally automated this flow. Hey, Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, Aydin, what's up? Appreciate you having me.
Super good to see you. We're doing this a few time zones apart. You're in Malaysia today, right?
Yeah, other side of the world, I guess, coming at you from the future.
Yeah, what's it like in the future? Is it any better than the past?
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the surprise, you know.
That's awesome. So, Tom, great to have you on the show. I think like this is really cool in terms of the power of X and bringing people together. We first interacted on X. I was super impressed with some of the work that you're doing in AI, and you had this awesome work that you've posted around how you're automating really cool workflows, things that humans would previously do. You're kind of building out these as AI agents that effectively do the same things, and it's super interesting. But before we dive in and show everybody how to do some of the same things, maybe you can tell us very quickly, who you are, what you do, what is your daytime job?
Yeah, so my name's Tom, obviously. I run an AI automation agency, and just for context, my background's been in email and SMS for brands, 8-figure, 9-figure brands in all over the world in different countries. So I've kind of got a really solid base in marketing. And really when AI came around the last couple of years, specifically the last sort of 6 to 12 months, I've realized that there's a bridge there between having two-way conversations with leads, with prospects, instead of what typically happens in the space that I was in, is doing one-way blasts to the huge list with some kind of promo. Now, it does work, but imagine having an actual conversation with somebody that seems pretty human-like, almost undetectable for most people. That's kind of the opportunity that I saw, and that's what I've leaned into moving into this year to build these kinds of solutions out for other businesses, with high-ticket products, decent lead volume. The speed to lead element is super important. And that's something we can talk about.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Like, this is one of the things that I think the listeners will really kind of identify with, because we've seen this trend a few times, which is the best way to communicate with customers, like the most optimal way, of course, is to have a conversation, right? But the problem with that is it takes a bunch of time. And it's very expensive. And depending on, what a customer or lead is worth, you might not be able to resource it. And so we resort to things like one-way blasts, like send an email to everyone. Maybe you personalize it a little bit, but it's certainly not a conversation. And so, yeah, what AI enables is that you can actually have a conversation with each and everyone at scale, which previously was never possible. And so I think it's very interesting to see all of these. What is the best way of doing something? It previously wasn't scalable, but now we can scale it with AI. This is another trend that I'm just seeing across the board on how AI can be impactful within a business.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's levels to it, because everybody's heard of chatbots, right? And, you can get something off the shelf for maybe like $100 a month that might be decent, but we actually build custom solutions that are tweaked to your specific lead sources, and also your business, your product. With some of the stuff we build, we actually build out a custom knowledge base based around the client's products, information, testimonials, that kind of thing. And so that's really where like a custom solution comes into its own.
I'm very excited about the stuff that you've put together, Tom. You had this one tweet, which was you created an AI SDR system that books $200K a month in sales calls. On this post alone, you got, millions I'm looking here, 2.3 million impressions on this one post, which is insane. And this is all automated, right? There's no human in the loop. And just this idea that you can book $200,000 a month, all from an AI automated system. And that's something that you've done. And now you're doing it for other clients. I mean, this sounds super awesome. And it's the sort of thing that you help clients do. So I'd love for you to show the audience what this system is, how it works, how you put it together. This will give everybody a ton of ideas on what else they can do in their own business.
Absolutely. Okay, so just for context, I don't know if you're going to put this up on the screen, but this was the tweet that I put out. And it was pretty crazy for me because I only had 180 followers. And I put this out, went to bed, woke up in the morning, it had hundreds of thousands of views and hundreds of comments. And, I didn't think this was going to blow up. So I didn't have any auto DM set up. So I had to literally manually DM every single person who commented for the doc, which was not the best way to spend. That's kind of led to my growth. I'm at like 8,000 followers right now. So things have gone pretty well. And what I wanted to show you today was, I've got a couple of examples, but we don't need to look at both of them. I'm going to show you how this works in practice, and then I'm going to take you under the hood so you can see what's actually going on behind the scenes if you want to build something like this yourself. And so we usually build these demos for clients so they can actually play around with the tool and see how it responds. And yeah, a few things that we build here, some FAQs, but we don't need to get into that right now. Let's just try this out.
For the audience that's like listening in who's not seeing this, but this was, it looks like a website and selling some sort of product. And then you basically clicked on what was the CTA of the button you clicked on?
Get started now. So it's basically a demo page where we host a working demo of the two-way AI system, the AI SDR.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, you're clicking get started now.
And it comes through to like a chat screen, right? And this is basically simulating what would happen over text message. And so what we typically do for that first message, and we've tested this over probably hundreds of thousands of messages at this point, is asking them, is this the same person who reached out to us about X? And so the reason why we do that is we're trying to open the conversation and get a yes, right? Like I mentioned earlier, we don't want to blast them with like some kind of sale or trying to get them back on the phone immediately. That's not the best approach in my experience. And so I'm just going to, join the conversation. So yes, that's me. And so what the AI is going to do is going to read that response in context of the first message and then send us a message back. And what this says is, I was just about to reach out, but I hate annoying people with unwanted phone calls. Are you still interested in launching your beauty brand? Right. And for context, this is a SaaS that allows people to launch their own beauty business. Like they do print on demand stuff for beauty products. And their goal is to get people on a phone call, not just to set up their account, but also to offer their higher ticket services for creating their own website and all the back end stuff that can be done for them for a high ticket price. And so when we're messaging them asking, we hate annoying people with unwanted phone calls, we're actually sort of seeding the idea that we were going to call them. So that's still kind of an option later in this conversation. So if I say, yeah, I'm still interested.
By the way, this sounds incredibly natural. So if I got a text message like this, I definitely would not think that it's not a human.
Yeah. And I mean, the cool thing is we can plug in different chat models. We can go with Anthropic, we can go with OpenAI, we can also tweak the prompts for different styles of language and things like this. This is just like an out of the box kind of basic level setup that we've got. Now we get into the qualification questions that I've added in here to take the lead through. And so again, we're not going in and just pitching the phone call, trying to get a bit more information. And so what you're hoping to build with Beauty Boss, let's just say makeup brand. And then, okay, are you brand new to print on demand or have you already tried a few things? That's going to gauge the experience level and I guess the quality of the lead. Let's just say brand new. Okay, do you already have a niche or product in mind? Not yet. So now we're getting into the pitch. So would it help to talk to someone one-on-one who can walk you through how to get the most out of your trial? I'm just going to put sure. So would you be free to speak with an advisor now? Some of the people we work with have a call center, so we can, if this lead, I'm the lead in this situation. If I was to say yes, then what we can do on the back end is we can actually pipe that phone call directly into their call center. But let's just say I'm not free, not right now. So what day and time would work best? Let's just put tomorrow, 10 a.m. And then boom, we've scheduled the call. This is the number we're going to call you from. And what's happening on the back end here is we checked the calendar and we saw that this 10 a.m. tomorrow. So we've got some scripts that run to detect the time and date. We then check the calendar, and if it's free, then we're going to schedule a call. Right. That's the chat from start to finish.
I just wanted to point out what's interesting is, like, I mean, this chat, again, incredibly natural. What you also have at the top of the screen are the stages. So, there's like a lead qualified stage. And then when the phone call was booked, it's switched to objective reached. And this kind of like shows what's happening in the background. And so there are objectives to this chat. And as those are being accomplished, you're actually saying, yep, that one's done, moving on to the next one. And so that's really cool to see in real time as well.
Yeah, and we'll be able to see this on the pipeline. So the client will have access to our account, and they'll be able to see how many leads are in each stage. And also for sales teams, we can pull this entire transcript and add it into the notes. And we can pipe this into any CRM with API access. And so if it's cool with you, Aydin, I can jump into what's actually happening underneath the hood here and show people how this is all operating. So most people have probably heard of Go High Level. If you've not, it's a CRM. It does a million different things. It's fantastic. I use it every single day. I'm not saying you need to use this, but you need a platform to send text messages. Now, you could use N8N and hook that up with Twilio, but this is a CRM for a reason, right? It's got all these additional features for mapping contact fields and all of this stuff. And in fact, what the way I've got this set up wouldn't work with just a Twilio API, because we have custom fields, we have custom values, we have a bunch of stuff going on in here. And it's just a little bit more organized than just pinging the text message off with a Twilio API, right? For that reason, we do need to add a phone number and go through the A2P verification process. I'm in a demo account here just to show you how all this works. I can't go into any client accounts, unfortunately, but you will need to get a number, get the A2P verification. If you don't know how to do that, you can Google, look for YouTube videos. It's pretty straightforward, but it's very important to do the application correctly and show people the pages that you've got where people are opting in with the disclaimer. They have to actually give their consent to make it legit, let's say.
Oh, so Tom, just for me to understand, the A2P, what is that? So it sounds like it's a disclaimer. You just have to prove that you're allowed to contact the person, right?
Yeah, it's like with email, you need the back end DKIM and the authentications for your domain. It's like an SSL for your website. Sending text messages is still pretty restricted. There's some pretty tight regulations in the US and in Europe in particular. And so while it's highly unlikely you're going to get sued if you start texting people who never gave you their permission, but you can't send text messages from Go High Level. You can't send text messages from Twilio without A2P verification in the US and Canada.
Hey everyone, just a quick pause on today's episode to tell you about my day job. In addition to this new way, I'm the CEO of a company called Fellow.ai, and Fellow is an AI meeting assistant. It joins all your meetings, it summarizes them, tracks the actions and the decision, and does that better than any other tool that you've seen. We've spent a ton of time making sure that the meeting notes and summaries and action items that come out of Fellow are the most accurate, the most precise. It beats any human you have to try it. But in addition to that, what makes Fellow different is that it is the first AI note taker built from the ground up with security and privacy in mind. This means that you can use it for all your meetings, not just the customer-facing ones, but also the sensitive ones, things like one-on-ones and executive team meetings and those QBRs and everything in between. It's got really good judgment. So, for example, if you start a meeting and you're talking about some social stuff that you don't really want on the record that's going to get emailed to everyone afterwards, Fellow just knows it just doesn't include those things. Or say you have something that you talked about and later on you realize, oh man, that shouldn't have been there. Makes it really easy. You can go back to the meeting, select that part, delete it, and then it's gone from the record. It connects to all of the other tools you use in the organization, whether that's Slack or Asana or HubSpot or Salesforce or Linear or Jira or Confluence, whatever it is, Fellow integrates with all those things. I think the best part is that Fellow also acts as an AI chief of staff. Because it sits on all the meetings and the conversations that you have access to, you can ask it really cool questions such as, what are the biggest opportunities in my company? What are the bottlenecks in engineering? And Fellow just pieces together information, sees trends, and it can answer those sorts of questions. It can even do things like, hey, based on all of the one-on-ones that I've had with this particular person, can you create them a performance review? And it can do things like that too. And the sky's really the limit. Either way, I would love for you to try it and let me know what you think. And with that said, let's go back to the episode.
And so you have to register as a brand and as a campaign. And yeah, I'm not going to go through that whole process right now. It sometimes takes a couple of days to come through. Very important. You're not going to be able to send any text messages without it, unfortunately. As much as the internet marketers might want to do, we can't just blast entire text message lists. Not going to happen. So what we've got set up in here, we've got some automations. Now, just to be clear, I've broken this down into the most sort of convenient, easy to set up automation possible. Now, the stuff we do with our clients is custom. We have a bunch more stuff going on in the workflows, but I wanted to keep it simple so it's fairly straightforward to set up. So let me walk you through what happens when that first message gets sent. The first message is a template, and you might be shocked to hear that, but the thing is, if you've been in marketing for any length of time, you know that split testing is super important. And when you've got enough data on this first message that we send out, like, we know that it works to get responses. But yeah, we want to add a trigger. So where are people coming in? We can do manual imports. We can add some kind of automated trigger. If you're using Go High Level for your forms, for example, you can just add that in there. We had some tags, and then we can send with WhatsApp, right? And if WhatsApp's not valid, we can go for SMS. Again, WhatsApp is also set up inside Go High Level. I'm not going to take you through that right now because the main purpose really is to use the SMS. Right? You don't need the WhatsApp, and I know it's not super popular in the US, but for us Europeans, it's the only thing people use for text messaging. And yeah, in here we have a template. So you customize this to whatever business you've got, right? We put in the dynamic name field, super important. And that's what happens when the first message gets sent. We update some contact fields and we are good to move to the next step. Does that all make sense?
Okay. Yeah, so basically for the very first message, the one which is like, hi, are you the same person? That is a template from Go High Level, which is the CRM. And so that's what kicks off the workflow. And I see some branches here that will allow you to do it on WhatsApp or, text message. And of course, as Tom, you mentioned, we're going to provide the links so that with the full walkthrough and more detail. But right now, yeah, as a high level, this makes sense for a first step.
Okay, great. So that's the first step. The second step is to generate a response. Pretty simple. I'm going to show you how we do that in NA10 and also how we configure the automation in Go High Level. So the trigger is obviously once somebody has responded to that thread, to the text message, we're going to tag them as responded. We can create opportunity. You know how you saw the pipeline, Aydin, on the demo that I took you through? Well, that's related to the pipeline stages in the opportunities section in Go High Level. There's a few things here. Most of the contacts are going to go through down this right-hand side here, down here, and down here. If somebody manually takes over, because in Go High Level, you can see the conversations tab, and if for whatever reason you go in there and you start chatting to one of the leads manually, then it's gonna pause the sending. So down here we've got the update AI memory, right? This is a custom field. What happens after here is we send the webhook through to N8N, right? This is where the response gets generated. And so let me show you what that looks like. We send a webhook into an AI agent with the OpenAI model. You could change that to Claude or whatever you want. We use some memory here. You can also use the Windows buffer memory or the standard memory that comes with N8N. And then we have this switch here. Let me explain that by going through the prompt. So I have an example prompt here for a debt company. We've worked with a couple of these and it works extremely well because they have call centers and they're just hammering the leads all day long, but no text message. So it works really well for those guys. Not going to take you through everything here, but this is very, very important to the operation of the agent. And so what we've got is a system message, and you can see here we've got a lead response, right? So that's what's getting piped in so we can give the chat some context. We've got the first message sent piped in there as well. And the bump, we're not going to worry about the bump because that's in the more advanced workflow that we've got. We've got a classic role is output style. And if people didn't know this, you can actually put in your training. And so ChatGPT has access to different types of trainings and books and things like this. And maybe you've heard of spin selling. So we just pop that in there.
That's so cool that you can just say, this is, just do it in this style of spin selling, and then it will just know what that is. That's super cool.
Yeah, if we get objections, then it's gonna pull from spin selling to, look, if a user doesn't follow the conversational direction, default to your spin selling training to keep them engaged. We have a qualified prospect section. So if they respond to the first message is positive, we have you can change that, but that's kind of what we send. If the response to the first message was negative, all right, this is important. We're going to confirm if they are actually still looking for help, and if they've already answered the first message, move on. Okay, there is another important part to this. Yeah, we'll get to that as we move through it. But the reason why we're asking them, if there's any negative sentiment, we're gonna pull them out of Go High Level, make sure they don't get any more messages if they have a negative response. But yeah, we've got the qualification criteria here, booking call protocol. So like what I mentioned earlier about the scheduling, now we want to mention the opening hours, the days that they're open, so we can actually schedule calls during those times. If the business is closed, we can tell them that we can help them out. After they agree to a specific day and time, tell them we're going to call from this number. Rules.
This is amazing, Tom. As you're showing this to me, what I'm kind of getting from it is, if you just hired a person and wanted to tell them to literally be on the other side of this chat, this is what you would tell them, right? Like, these are the rules, behave like this, answer objections like that. Here's like the operating hours. And you're just doing all of that in just plain English for the AI to understand. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, exactly that. And this was the important thing that I wanted to mention. If they respond negative to the first message and indicate they're not the person they think they are, do not use their first name in the message. Additionally, there was one thing that I just can't quite find in here. But when somebody responds negatively, we're going to output the message, the word goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
When the word goodbye gets sent, right, we're going to filter that person and switch them to do not contact.
Okay, right.
So that way they're not responding with stop, which will stop the messages, but we try and do it in a way that is going to keep the unsubscribe rate on the lower end.
I love this. So if I were to kind of recap a little bit here, so we start with go high level, and there's a flow. It sends the first text message based on the contact information and the database. But then Go High Level needs to generate a response. And so it uses a webhook, and now you have your N8N flow. So that's how it gets into N8N. The AI agent, using the prompt that you showed, constructs a message. And then you have like two modes, which is, if this is a goodbye and do not contact this person, the switch takes them to one area in Go High Level. And if it's this is a good message and this works, then you take him to the other place and go high level, right?
Exactly. And so we update the contact with the output, and then over in Go High Level, it's going to update a custom contact field, right? And when that's updated, well, we finish this flow, we clear the lead response. So when they respond again, it's not going to have the duplicate response from this first pass. And then we go into the third workflow, because obviously we need to send the reply. Right now, it's just sitting in a custom field on the contact record. And that's what this workflow does right here. And so we're waiting for contact changed. Okay, so when that field gets filled with the response, this might look a bit confusing. Don't worry. We're just going to stick with the SMS channel. Is ChatGPT filled? If ChatGPT is not empty, which hopefully it shouldn't be, because we've generated the response and sent it back from N8N. If it's not empty, then we're going to just pop that in as a custom variable in there. So every time there is a new response, it's going to update and send the correct response, right? And that's it. It's going to loop around until that call's booked. That's how you get started with these kinds of workflows. And you could build this in HubSpot or something else, but this is just kind of what works best for me.
Again, I just want to go back to this concept that to me seems pretty mind-blowing. It's, if you could, you would hire 1,000 people, right? Maybe junior level employees, maybe with some expertise because they know spin selling, and you would get them to sit behind a computer terminal and chat with customers all day long. But you've literally automated this flow, and just through clever prompting and clever tying systems to each other, you're able to put something like this together, which effectively allows you to talk to, thousands of customers at scale and with very highly skilled people on the other end. So one question that I would have, Tom, by the way, again, this is, I think, mind-blowing, but one question I have for you is, what does this cost to do? Once you have this up and running, what is the cost? Because to me, this can be, again, the replacement of 1,000 people behind a chat terminal talking to customers.
Yeah, totally. You mean the running cost, or like what we usually
running
do
cost.
build? Yeah, running cost. Let's say a conversation is about 5 messages backwards and forwards. That's going to cost you about $250 per 1,000 conversations, something like that.
Okay, so that's basically per 1,000 conversations, so 25 cents a conversation.
Yeah, something like that.
That sounds pretty. I don't know how many things out there you can get for 25 cents. So this is, to me, pretty incredible.
Yeah. You've got the AI costs as well from OpenAI or Claude, whichever tool you use, but it's going to be pretty minimal. You might be thinking, well, what if it starts sending like the wrong message, or like how do we step in if things are not going to plan? Well, the way we work is we test a small batch first. So you don't want to load in like 5,000 contacts and start running this automation, because things can go wrong if you've not tested it. Things can go wrong, or you might want to tweak the messaging. Right, you might find some people are not responding to maybe that opening message, or maybe they're not answering all the questions. Maybe you want to shorten the qualification process. There's a bunch of things you can do with this, and as a marketer, like going straight in for the phone call could be an interesting test. So yeah, there's a few things you can do, and if you're concerned that this might burn your list or annoy somebody, well, we have that opt-out clause. If somebody's like, stop texting me, this will then output goodbye, and then that'll go through and turn off the contact. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. And, Tom, I'm going back to the thing that you just said about the 25 cents. And now it's occurring to me, when you say 25 cents, it's because text messages cost money to send. So it's not even like the AI part. And then when you went to the AI part and the one that's actually generating this message, you're like, oh yeah, that cost is minimal. So it's not even worth talking about. That's super interesting. So if this were not text message and this were just a web chat on your website, as an example, the cost would be negligible.
Yeah, you'd just be paying for the AI costs. So yeah, it depends on your volume and the number of messages getting sent.
But it would be, just order of magnitude. It would probably be less than 1 cent per conversation, right?
Yeah, it'd be extremely cheap.
Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying the episode. One of the common things that we hear is, hey, you all talk about all these different tools, you walk through these demos. Sometimes it's hard for me to follow along. We decided to do recently was take all the things that we talk about, put them in a weekly newsletter. We literally list all the tools, we link to them, and any demo that we walk through, we break it down step by step, put it in this newsletter so it's super easy for you to follow along. And the other nice thing is that if there's someone on your team that you think could benefit, they're working on that subject area, they could use a little bit of AI injection into their workflow, send them the newsletter, send them that particular episode. We make it super easy to do that. It's free to sign up. All you have to do is go to thisnewway.com, enter your email address, and you'll get this weekly email from us. Hope you enjoy it. With that said, let's go back to the episode. When you think about this stuff, what's now possible with these AI models, it's just so fascinating. Very, very cool.
I mean, one of the other use cases as well that we run is for abandoned carts, right? And I'm not going to take you through this now, but just to give you the idea of, and this kind of plays into my experience massively, because typically with a e-commerce brand, you have an abandoned cart text message flow, and it sends out like a templated message with the dynamic field for the product and the customer name. Whereas what we can do now is we can have this two-way conversation, and we can plug in the entire knowledge base from their Shopify store or e-commerce store, wherever they've hosted it. We can pull literally every single piece of information from their website, all the products, and we can use that as a knowledge base for the AI to query if a customer has a question or they're asking something very specific about a product, things like this. So we can build that into these agents and have that two-way conversation, which I think is the way to go right now. People want a personalized experience and they want instant answers to their questions. And if they have to go through like support, like say you don't even have a chatbot on your website, they'll have to email support, wait maybe 24 hours for a response. By that point, some people, buy stuff on impulse, or they're browsing other competitors, right? So they go and look, oh, I've got a problem with this website. It's not really clear how long shipping's going to take. So I'm going to drop them an email. Meanwhile, I'm going to check out my competitor who's got the same kind of product. I'm going to order from them because it's so much clearer. And maybe they've got chat support on their website, or it's just a lot clearer, the information they're looking for.
There's so many applications to this. Like you said, e-commerce, abandoned cart, very obvious one. But I'll even go a step further. If you're running a B2B business, one of the things B2B businesses often do is they have demos, and people get excited. They sign up for a demo, and sometimes there are no-shows for that demo. But if you had a phone number, and presumably you can also do this by email, right? This idea of doing all the follow-ups and make sure someone does show up and everything does happen after the fact, like all of those things can now be automated. And to a large extent, people do actually have humans doing these things, chasing leads that, are no-shows. And if you could automate all of those things, think how much more productive every person, your organization, your sales and CS team, think of how much more productive they can be with tools like this.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're onboarding an e-commerce store right now, and they sell pretty high ticket products, everything from solar panels to hot tubs to saunas. And they literally have somebody who they've hired to reach out to people manually, which seems crazy to me. So pretty interesting to see what kind of results we can get for them.
This is super interesting. And obviously you do this kind of work and you're making a lot of this content available. But you can also help people, right? So I think like part of the idea behind this episode is for people to really get the ideas of what kind of things you can do. And so the takeaway for me is you can automate full-on conversations of trained humans at scale using these kinds of tools, and it can apply to many workflows. And you can tinker and start doing this with your team. And obviously, folks like Tom can also help you build those things. If you just want to go straight and say like, yes, this is what I want, Tom, help me do it.
Yeah.
The other thing, Tom, and to kind of like switch gears for a moment, this is super interesting. In the pre-interview, you and I were chatting, and there was this interesting thing. So your social presence has blown up, and you're getting a lot of engagement on your social accounts. And when we were talking about that, one interesting thing that you said was, well, I really study viral posts and things that go really well. And I have AI analyze those things. And as a result of the analysis, I create these context files so that I can train the AI on what to know what things actually work. So it can keep getting smarter when it helps me produce my own social content. It has examples and this context to be able to do it over and over again. It made me think again of humans that you might hire a social media manager, and you'd say, go study this and go study that and go study, this other tweet. And based on that, draw a bunch of conclusions and then use those conclusions every time you write something. Did I describe that correctly? Like what a context file is in the way that you use it?
Exactly that. If you're using ChatGPT or Claude or any LLM with any reference documents, you're missing out on so much, because as we know, like ChatGPT generic output in a chat is, not the best, especially if you're trying to write copy or an email or something. So you need to give it the correct context and examples to dial in that language. What I've done, and people can grab this as well if they want, I've created this file and I found, I don't know how many tweets are in here. There's maybe like 20 or 25 tweets that all got over 100,000 views each, which I think is a pretty decent sort of, like, I think most people would love to get 100,000 views on a tweet. What I've done is I've collected all those tweets specific for my industry and my market, which is building AI agents, NA10, all that cool stuff. And so if you were in my shoes and you were in a different industry, then you'd want to spend some time on X finding the top performing posts. I mean, I also have a workflow for this, which is also on my X somewhere. Maybe we can link this, which basically scrapes all the top performing tweets for a certain keyword, and you can just basically pull the ones you think are decent for this kind of example. And so I've got a pretty brief description of how to use this file, and you can create these kinds of files using basically anything, right? Something I did the other day, I found this really good copywriter, and he put out this thread of like copywriting principles. And I thought, wow, that'd be great to a Claude project to help improve the outputs. So yeah, that's what I do. I create these all the time for different use cases. And if you're not using them, you just kind of fly in blind. And there's really no excuses at this point, because the more context and data you can give the AI, the more specific the output is going to be to your use case. And I can get pretty good tweet examples that just need a little bit of tweaking, and they consistently get me anywhere from 30,000 to 150,000 views on my posts. So it's working pretty well for me, and depends what industry you're in and what kind of examples you can find. I've also done this with viral threads as well. So threads that have got over 1 million views each. And yeah, drop the thread in, and then you can run the thread through AI, get some analysis. You can add the analysis into the context file as well. When you're trying to create something, you can just pop in your prompts. One other cool thing, I will mention this as well. I've got to mention this. I put this up the other day. I actually only found it a couple of days ago. I don't want to say game changer, but it is a game changer. Listen, we all get lazy with our prompting. And to be honest, writing a fully well-structured prompt every time you use AI is kind of annoying, and most people don't do it. So what you can do is come in here and you can just basically turn your lazy prompt into something amazing. So let's just say I want to write a banger X post that has the highest chance of going viral.
So, and as you're typing this for everybody listening in, so this is this website, promptcowboy.ai. And so Tom is writing this generic prompt, and then we're going to see what Prompt Cowboy does in order to make this prompt a lot better.
You can select standard prompt, reasoning prompt, deep research prompt, custom GPT, agent prompt. And I've just put in a very basic one sentence, very general, and we'll see what it comes up with. And so it gives you a very detailed prompt including the situation, the task, the objective, the knowledge. And then it also gives you some options to improve your prompt. So what's your X audience style? What
This
AI
is so good.
angle interests you? What's your goal for virality? And so that takes a 1-sentence prompt into a fully structured, in-depth prompt. And then when you pair that with a context file, it's just game over. You're on a different level to what most people are using AI for at that point.
Yeah, I mean, this is so cool because if it does nothing else, it tells you exactly what the structure of your prompt should be. And you can obviously tweak it from then and there, but I'm not going to come up with these kinds of ideas on like such a comprehensive prompt. This is incredible.
No.
What a great idea. Promptcowboy.ai. Everybody should check it out.
Yeah, it's super cool. No, I mean nobody's gonna write a prompt this long when they're just jumping into ChatGPT or something. I mean, and you don't need something like this every single time, but if you want to get the best output and you're creating something serious that might get shared somewhere, then it's a good place to start.
So, Tom, this is incredible. Thank you for showing us all of these things. And I know we're getting close to time here, but I just wanted to make sure that people, if people want to contact you, what is the best way for them to reach out?
A few different ways. Obviously, you can follow me on X and DM me there. Probably not the best place since my DMs get absolutely overloaded. My email is tom@emailalchemy.co, which is the best email to grab me on. So yeah, that's probably the best channel for me right now.
And we want to make sure everyone follows you on X as well. So do you want to give everyone your X handle too?
Yeah, it's Tom Crawshaw, CRAWSHAW01.
So Tom produces a lot of great content, and this has been excellent. I learned a lot, and I hope everybody else learned a lot and got a bunch of ideas. So Tom, thank you so much for doing this.
Pleasure, Aydin. Happy to share. Appreciate you having me on.
And that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of This New Way. If you like the content, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe so you can get notified when we post the next episode. See you next time.